What's going on, everybody? This is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, and you're here for another episode of the Facts Project. Today, special guest Corey Marshall. We're here to talk about Umiverse comics. Now, note, this man does not have one tale that he's going to tell us about, but he has none other than 4 tales that he's basically put together, and you can find them all on umiverse.com, correct?
Umiversecomics.com.
Umiversecomics.com. Corey, thank you for being here.
Man, thank you for having me. Honestly, I'm honored, and it's a pleasure.
Nah, look, man, I know we've been following each other for a long time, especially even from the Instagram days and everything like that.
Yeah.
And of course, I've seen the acumen for basically you having this love for comics and everything. You're of course not only a comic writer now, and I can officially say that, but you're a comedian by trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like it's good to see, man. Like, especially when somebody, of course, has a lot of arms in the stable, man. And you so what got you into this, man? Because we've been following each other for a while. So the love of comics that basically you endured, where did this begin?
First, it did start from the love of comic books, and like no cap, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, I don't have to make up a story to kind of be involved, but I've been reading comic books ever since I was a kid, like many people, you know. But I was the guy that used to cut up the comic books because I didn't have a lot of toys, so I would cut out the action, the comic books, and I used to play with them and everything. So I used to just run through them. I used to tell my own stories outside of what the written story was in a comic book. I have my own Marvel tales and stuff like that. So I always loved creating stories, which got me into writing as a kid. So I always enjoyed the process of writing. And then when I got older, I just moved into the kind of professional side of stand-up comedy. So I was a stand-up, still am technically. Started stand-up honestly 12 years ago. And from being in stand-up, I learned more about writing, and being in the stand-up area, I befriended a lot of professional comedians, and they had a lot of projects, and so I was involved with a lot of their writing project, whether it was screenplays. So they would give me the screenplays, and I would punch them up, like make them funnier. Right. And then so I was like, this is another avenue to get into. So I got into doing screenplays and writing. That opportunity to work on some sitcom stuff, and it didn't go as planned. And so I was just like, well, yeah, I really want to tell some stories on the screen. So what's a good way to get the stories completed? And then I said comic books. So that's what got me into creating and producing comic books, because I had a story to tell that I wanted to be seen. I wanted people to read it. I wanted the stories to be known, and comic books was the perfect way to blend those two worlds together, man. So that's when I got started with a Madman tale.
Yeah, and now you sent me a Madman tale. Like I said, I was maybe around like 5-6 months ago, and I was blown away by it because
thank you.
Well, first and foremost, not only we talk about Madman's tale, you got Artificial Identity, you got Gospel Burger, and you got Strange Roots. And each of these stories, none of them are the same. Let's just point that out and say that wholehandedly. But more so than not, I know generally from reading all these books, I sense a little bit of Hitchcock in there. I sense a little bit of Twilight Zone in there. I sense a little bit of Creepshow in there. So it's like those vignettes that we used to see with like those old school horror TV shows and everything like that. Like the horror movie was 30 minutes, or the storyline was 30 minutes. So like you had to catch somebody like immediately, and maybe you were driving them in a direction, but in the end, that pivot would happen, and you'd be like, this is a whole totally blown different story.
Yeah.
So when I first read the premise of Madman's tale, there is, of course, the oversight of racial injustice and police brutality, but then it goes into this sci-fi element.
Absolutely, yeah.
So let's speak on that first.
Okay. You're talking about unidentified lies.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it kind of started around the time that story came about, around 2020-ish,
Hmm.
when we was doing a lot of protesting. And you're sitting down, you're thinking, and it was just like, okay, well, what if there's something else to it? You know what I'm saying? What if something, if there's a bigger picture,
Hmm.
that we may never know? And it's okay, well, what if there's a sci-fi twist to it? And so that's how the story came about. And it was a way to address the social aspects, the seriousness of what's going on, the injustices, the injustice of things, and also, which is something that we're all familiar with. Like, we know how that story goes. Like, we know how it starts. We know how it's played out. We're familiar with those stories. So automatically, you're involved with it. You got an idea where it's going to go. So I just wanted to add another element, like, like, what if this happened? Or what if also this is happening, and kind of add in that bizarre thing into something that's already familiar.
Yeah, because then
Um,
unidentified lies, the way that you're looking at it is like, and no, it's almost like a conspiracy theorist dream, because like the
yeah,
way that like police brutality in the black community can be so eye-catching and polarizing that can turn everybody's hindsight towards that moment, that
yep,
everything that's being done in the background you can't see.
nope, nope,
So like it
yeah,
within like a 22 to 20, I think it was 24 page storyline, it's like you're seeing this and you're starting to get pissed off because the storyline is like is hard hitting, and then you realize that they pulled a curtain down and it's like
something totally different.
like homeboy wasn't bullshitting the entire time. Like he been trying to tell y'all.
Yeah,
But essentially every single story turns out to be like this. You
yeah,
you
yep,
have a way of turning everything on its head. So like with with Gospel Burger, there's the religion aspect, but then there's this cannibalistic aspect and the zombie aspect that's going on there. You have Strange Roots, which is like a sort of, damn, how can you say it? It's crazy. It's like a uh it's kind of, man, like a almost like a time travel way of staying within like a certain period piece, but then
okay,
again, like it's so revealing in that sense. And then like artificial identity in the beginning, like you like it plays into that whole the discrimination of transgenders, and then
yeah.
it turns out this
It
is
just keeps going. It keeps
yeah,
going.
this
It keeps going.
AI android is just like, I'm like, yo, this is wild. And the thing is, like, that's what's so capturing about it. But the way
Mhm.
that you're telling all these stories, where did this inspiration come from?
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, just the storytelling style first of Alfred Hitchcock. You know, I used to always watch a lot of his stuff. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, and it was just something about his demeanor and the way his stories were. I knew something was gonna happen. It wasn't always scary, but it was just weird. You know what I'm saying? And I just like that about Alfred Hitchcock. And then
Mhm.
of course Twilight Zone. You know what I'm saying? It's just like um the sci-fi behind that. At first I used to think it was just horror, you know what I'm saying? Then no, it's not horror, it's more science fiction type.
Yeah.
And then the messages that they had about the social elements, about the world and how they were saying other things through the story. And so, I'm not saying I'm doing anything new. It's been done plenty of times before.
Right.
Um, those are like the different blueprints that I just utilize, man, to tell the story from my perspective or a Black perspective.
Mhm. Now, did you always see yourself basically building up a story and having those layers to where it was easier for you to pivot? Like when you're telling like the baseline of an entire story that's going to take you 18 pages, but you almost know what the climax is going to be, and it's the page turner element of it is just like I'm totally going left here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. It's well, I don't know. Like sometimes it's twofold. It's like of course I want to see first where I want to end. So it was okay. How do I want to end the story, and how would it start? And then everything else I just drop elements in there. And then it's about the compression of the story because I got 20 pages to tell it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just taking out things and making everything intentional, and I think that's what I like. That's what I like about the stories. Like everything is intentional. All the words, the phrases, the conversations, the actions of it. Like it, there's like no fodder in it. You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I can skip this page but no, like you got to read this page because if you don't read this page, you may not understand how this came
Right.
about in this part. So yeah.
How did you come up with a storyline like Gospel Burger?
The Gospel Burger came about. Grew up in church, and we used to always sell food after the service,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a couple people they were just coming just to get some food, man.
Hold on. Did your church have like a downstairs kitchen?
Had the downstairs kitchen.
I had the downstairs kitchen.
Yeah, had the downstairs. I don't even think you could build a church without a downstairs kitchen. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you got a building. You ain't got no church. You gotta have a downstairs
Gotta
kitchen.
have a downstairs kitchen. You ain't got no downstairs kitchen. You in the Catholic church.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's how it came about. About just people going for the food, and it's just so just kind of twist the element of what if there was something important about the food, or what's the food doing, and so it was that part was easy, and I
Mm-hmm.
think I wanted to touch on the spiritual side of a religion, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and just being mindful of what we intake, what we listen to, what we allow to nurture us.
Right.
It sometimes it could be destroying us at the same time.
Mm. And no, look, if anybody is ever to pick up that book and read it, you'll be blown away just like I did. But to get to it, like somebody that like you, of course, with the aspect to not only come up with you've always wanted to do a comic book, but in this hindsight, you do multiple at one time.
Yeah.
And also, even from the business sense, you decide to open an online store immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Why so?
To recoup the cost of making the comic.
Yes.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah, I'm more so thinking like, you know, most people align with somebody that's already doing it in their field. Most people will probably try to like reach out to a publisher. You know what I'm saying? And I totally get that, to recoup them funds, because that's more so the indie game is rough. I get
yeah,
it.
it is,
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
Well, also too, it's I really don't know too much about the publishing realm in general.
Yeah.
So, but I am familiar with controlling your IP,
Yes.
and that's one thing that I'm big on. And I've been working on quite a few projects just throughout my career, and knowing the creative control is important to me. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I have a story complete and it's perfect to me, but when I present it, they want to change some things. Say, well, we need to change this, so we want to add this in there, and the story is not what I wanted it to be. So to kind of avoid that, it was just like, well, let me just take a chance and just kind of publish it myself. That way, I can make my mistakes, own up to it. You know what I'm saying? But this is the way I want to tell the story. If I said something wrong, hopefully there's room for a conversation around what I was trying to say, you know. And it's on me, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I don't have to call Olivia Pope to kind of save the publishing part. The publishing doesn't have to come to me, hey man, we can't say this in our books, so you gotta kind of tone it down a little bit, so I just said, why not? There's a lot of indie creators out there that's doing some amazing work, and just looking at their growth and their progression and their commitment to their stories and in their books, it's like you said earlier, they laid out the blueprint for it, man. All these indie creators out here. So it was just like, well, okay, it can be done. They're showing that it can be done, and so I just followed right along.
Word. Now, in the height of the game, and I think you and I were basically following pretty much like the same people. Was there anybody in particular who you were following, or you were like, okay, this person's doing it correctly, and if they're basically showcasing how they did it, and I can do the same thing.
Man, so many people, man. I can definitely say Tyler Martin, Tyler Martin,
Martin, Guy Hood,
Greg, Concrete, Impact. You know what I'm saying? Those guys, man. They've been hustling. You know what I'm saying? Crescent City Monsters.
oh yeah, Newton Lillavoy.
Beautiful books, man. Beautiful books. And it's just like, well, damn, like those are some good works, man.
I was about to say, was that your inspiration for Grayscale and all these books?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Grayscale Monsters showed me that it could be done good. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, okay, because a lot of people, they're very funny about black and white stuff for some reason. I don't know why. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't like black and white films, don't like black and white movies, and so when I first did one of the issues, I showed to a friend, I was like, oh, it's fun, but why isn't it black and white? And I was like, oh, well, it's kind of like Alfred Hitchcock, Twilight Zone. It was, black and white. So it was like homage to them. And there was a man, it's a comic book, man. Like, people want to see colors and splashing. And I was just like, and it almost convinced me, you know what I'm saying? And then happened to run across Crescent City Monsters. And I was just like, yo, like, this is crazy dope. And then they just really confirmed, nah, man, stick to your guns. Like, you can do it, you know what I'm saying? So that's just why they stayed black and white.
Word. Now, who was the creative team? Because of course how long did it take you to finish all these books?
Way longer than I thought. When I got in, I'm not gonna lie, like, I knew nothing about making comic books. And like a lot of people, I wrote the stories, it's cool. I got the panels laid out. I just need to hire an artist. They could draw it. So I found an artist. One of my friends recommended them. Say, hey man, can you do this comic book? He said, yeah, it's just 20 pages. Just 20 pages. I'll pay you what's your rate. He gave me rest. Oh, cool. Hey, I could do that. He said, when do you want it done? I said, I need 20 pages. I need it done in 2 weeks. And he looked at me like, this is not gonna happen. And I'm just like, you can't do it in 2 weeks. Just sit down and draw. I don't understand. Like,
right.
It's just not gonna happen.
Bro, I got a job.
Like, well, quit your job. So I don't understand. But I just didn't understand. I did not understand the illustration process. I did nothing about it. I just thought artists sit down and they just draw, and here you go. I apologize. I did not know that it was that much work involved. And so we gave it to him, and dude, 5 months later, 5 months later, he gave us our first issue. The first issue, which you have not seen.
Okay.
This is the insider. The first issue of Madman Tale is not public. Yeah, so I'm going to re-release that last. You know what I'm saying? Because it is my favorite story of the series. It's my favorite story of the series. And the artwork is different. So I was like, well, let me release this last because, it's a different look. It's a different feel. So it was just like, let me get people, consistent look, and then present the last story. It'll be something different. So
Gotcha.
yeah, yep. So that was kind of like maybe like a marketing kind of thing, whatever. But so my creative team, I got a good writing buddy in a comedy game named Marquise Jeter. He's on a lot of projects for his career. And he's like my brainstorm guy. It's just like I have ideas that I can bounce off of him, and he gives me great feedback. We just have a good synergy working together. So he's like my guy, I'm saying? It's like, hey man, I got this story right there, blah, blah, blah. And he'll talk me through things like, oh man, so what did this happen? Nah, I don't want that, And the thing about it, like I never use any of his ideas. I never use them. But
Right.
but it's just like and he knows that, I'm saying? He never got up, you never use my ideas. So he knows that we're getting to what I'm trying to do, you know what I'm saying? So he doesn't mind it. And like he's just one of my good guys, man. And artist, Toyin, he goes by Morby. Sorry, Morby. He's the lead illustrator for the project, stuff like that. So
he did every single one.
He did every single one that you have seen. Yes, sir. He did Gossip Burger, Artificial Intelligence, Unidentified Lies. Yeah. And he does it at a good rate, rate wise, time wise, what I mean.
Right.
Like he'll give me 3 pages a week, you know what I'm saying? So and so he's been a blessing. He's been a blessing.
Yeah, because you have a lot of creators that pretty much outsource their work to artists that live God knows where, Philippines, Brazil, and everything like that. You found somebody that you could literally like go see and check up on your work and everything like that. Not too many people got that luxury.
Well, okay. I wouldn't mind doing that. It is just I may do that later too. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I'm starting to pump out more books, is like, let me get some more people involved. Let me get like a different team wherever they are. So, but you're right.
Yeah. Now the book, of course, is now on the online store. Do you look to crowdfund any of these books?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I say it publicly, I'm scared of crowdfunding. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Gotcha.
I just don't know if I can have a successful crowdfunding project just yet. Maybe I could, but when we did it, I did the crowdfunding a little different. When my first book came out, I just looked at my followers through my career, whether they was comedy, you know what I'm saying, and went through my old email list and stuff like that and said, hey, I'm working on a new project.
Yep.
This is what it is. And you can help support it. So I just reached out to people that was already following me, and they got maybe the first 2 books funded, so that was a big help. So it was okay. I don't have to do the Indiegogo thing just yet, but
okay.
I still may.
Yeah, I mean, look, I realize as far as like you pretty much putting the company online as far as like outside of just you and putting that as like the brand that you're putting on social media. You have Umiverse now, Umiverse Comics on Twitter and probably on IG and everything like that right now. That's of course like the starting point for everybody. So it's like if you're constantly displaying the panels and everything like that, and people get to know exactly what the story is, and especially the aspects that they want to see, what not too many people are going the route of a Hitchcock feel or a Twilight Zone feel. So like when you're seeing that it's something different, that superheroes are, I can't say that superheroes are easy, but some people do create them as one-dimensional.
Yeah.
You don't have that. You add actual stories.
Stories.
Yeah, that you're pretty much putting online, and even throughout your books that you're selling. And people have to realize, like there's genres in comics just like there is in mediums like movies, so which is cool.
and that's the challenging part that I'm having, because I'm down with the capes and cowls. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it. The pictures look exciting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, and comic books too, like even before you get to the story, it is a visual medium. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like it has to move people visually,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, okay, so that could be a challenge thing because like my story doesn't have a lot of action in it. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like it's like, okay, so I got to find another way to kind of present it. So that's the challenging part, because I don't have a guy standing there in the cape, you know what I'm saying, or somebody holding
Mm-hmm.
the body, or it's coming out of the smoke or superhero pose. I got a guy sitting at
Right.
a table. And that's the action,
Right, right.
you may turn the page and somebody be like,
Hey, hey,
but
hey,
that's it.
maybe you just want to do the Hitchcock big belly outline and just walk into it real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Just it's just started like that. Like this is Umiverse right here. You
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
know
So,
what I'm saying?
but that's the challenge, man. And but it's been fun. People have been giving me feedback, and one good thing that is consistent: the people that read it, they love the stories, and so that's a relief, because it's
Yeah.
just the artwork may not, oh well, the artwork is so sick, so that's why I brought it. Like, no, they taking a chance when they buy my book. Like by no stretch of the imagination, they taking a chance. You know what I'm saying? The story may be whack. You know what I'm saying? The artwork
Mhm.
isn't like oh man, I'm gonna put a poster on the wall. These people talking at the table. That's what it's hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm just thankful that when they do check it out, they the I've always gotten positive feedback, and it seemed honest. So thank you.
Dope. 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 Well, hey, bro, I appreciate you doing this with me. Um, the fact that you are a person, of course, that loves comics this much, and you've had the opportunity to publish yourself for comics and then actually have them within your own digital store is an accomplishment all by itself. So it's more so now, like for some the entrepreneurial spirit that a lot of these comic book creators are having. You know, you followed step one, or actually, I'm sorry, you followed like step two before you
Okay.
did step one. So
All
like
right.
a lot of people generally just get their first issue, they'll crowdfund it, and essentially, even if they make it or not, they might not even get that issue to you. You're starting with four, which
Yeah.
is, what I'm saying, is good by itself. And you got four really good stories.
Thank you.
So I feel as though like this is definitely a good start because you actually like skipped a step. So now you could literally like market and promote these stories exactly how they are. And if
And it
anybody
was and
anybody gets
it
that
wasn't
chance
it
to read
wasn't
them,
intentional, man. Like I fumbled through some steps. I was like, oh, 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 and just happened. You know what I'm saying? It was not no master plan. Trust me.
word, yeah. But if anybody gets a chance to read any of these all the way through, you'll want to read the next one because, for one, if a if a comic has a dramatic climax, regardless if it's a cliffhanger or not, like
Mhm.
like I feel like none of these actually need an issue two because of how they're written. It's almost like the climax is not necessarily a page turner into a next issue. It's almost like, man, that book was like super dope because the ending was just the reveal was nuts.
Yeah.
And then you read the next one and it does the exact same thing and it continues on and on and on. So if you have like this niche that you're following where your comics are more like vignettes than anything, to where it's like I'm gonna give you all these one shots, and these one
Mhm.
shots are just cool ass comics that you can like basically like ride through. And then maybe one
Yeah.
day
The
you do
anthology.
want to do a continuing series.
Hmm. Yeah. So that's the next step. Like, and there is a familiar stream that'll run through all the comics, but you won't realize until all of them have been released, and you'll be like, oh wow, okay, I see how everything kind of may come together. But this is going to only be a 7 issue series, a Madman tale, and then I want to get into some capes and cows stuff. So
Ah,
and
you're gonna jump in the
and then
superhero ring.
going into superheroes, gotta go into superheroes. And so they'll still have that anthology style storytelling too, with like capes and cowls. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Dope, dope. Corey, appreciate you doing this with me. I totally want everybody to actually like get the opportunity to read your stuff, because if I'm blown away by it, I hope that everybody else is.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you, man, for what you're doing for the culture, man, in general. Like the consistent, you got a dope podcast. And I love it because you know what you're talking about, you know what I'm saying, the comic world. And that's just so fun. And not just comic, but hip hop, you know what I'm saying, music in general, you know what I'm saying. I appreciate all your contributions, man. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I definitely appreciate you.
Word up, man. Hey, look, I appreciate that wholeheartedly. I mean, shit, this episode is dedicated to our brother True Gore the Dove, plug 2 from De La Soul, just passed last week. So definitely peace to him, and peace to you, Corey. Appreciate you doing this. So for everybody at the Facts Project, this is James Grandmaster Facts Boyce, Corey Marshall with the Umiverse Comics, and we are out.